Okay, great. So we have Nataraja Nanjundaiah with us. He's a practicing cost accountant, registered valuer, insolvency professional, and has completed the senior management program from IIM Calcutta. He's worked in various leading companies such as Amazon, Infosys, Deutsche Bank, ADP, amongst many others. And after this illustrious experience in the corporate sector, he is now a practicing cost accountant, registered valuer, as well as an insolvency professional. So we look forward to learning more and hearing more about Nataraja's journey. So Nataraja, welcome to this discussion. The
Sure,
first
Rajiv.
thing the first thing that intrigues me about your profile is that after having spent about 20 years in corporate, working your way up the corporate value chain, you've spent and invested a significant amount of time on learning things like becoming a certified valuer, insolvency professional, etc. Can you run us through what was the decision making process? How did you go about deciding that from a corporate career, you moved into learning and invested so much in learning and picking up diverse skills and certifications?
Yeah. First of all, thanks, Rajiv, for this occasion and opportunity. I think it's important, and I mean it's important for me and for others as well, so that they can understand and try to see what learnings they can take if they are actually switching. So, addressing to your question, see, actually, I always had interest towards finance, analysis, and entrepreneurship and business. So, this is something I developed over a period of time when I was working with these large organizations. And I did have interest to set up my own entrepreneurship, my own business. However, I was looking for the right opportunity. So in June 2020, when I actually left Deutsche Bank, that's when I actually was contemplating to get into some kind of business and professional practice. So I had a choice whether I want to pursue professional practice or I want to utilize my innovative thinking to get into startup and entrepreneurship. So that's when I was thinking, what should I do? And I mean, to be honest, I was also looking for interesting roles if something comes up. During this process, I kind of discovered these two things, which is valuation and insolvency profession. In 2016 and 2017, there were significant regulation changes made by Government of India in the area of insolvency professional, and also, I mean, in the area of insolvency, and also in the area of valuation, which gave ways to these two professions in India. So mostly, whoever wants to pursue these two areas I mean, should be there is a set criteria. They should be coming from a professional background. Like I am a cost accountant, so if somebody is CA or CS with specific experience, they can get into this roles. So that's when I thought, okay, let me try and go ahead for this. And then that's when I kind of prepared for these exams. So it was really rigorous preparation. It's not like any other certification. You can just go and try to crack it, but you really need to prepare as if you are preparing for a CA or a CMA or something like that, or a CFA, any professional qualification. So it took couple of attempts. However, I was able to clear these exams, and there is a lot of opportunity for valuation. As you know, right now, the way the startup industry is coming up, and also the kind of mergers, acquisitions, and a lot of regulatory practices also require valuation. So I think valuation has, I mean, there's long way to go. This valuation bill needs to be passed, and a lot of work needs to be done in this area. And with respect to insolvency, so there is a new ecosystem set up by Government of India. Otherwise, with other legislations in place earlier, it was not very very successful in easily recovering the debts from the
Right.
corporates. So this actually has given way to, implement the recovery and insolvency procedures much smoothly. So these are two things I it kind of interested me, and apart from that, I'm also practicing cost accountant, which I have acquired long back. So there are other things in the plate which I want to do. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing about, what more is on your plate. But, from what you mentioned, there are two very interesting aspects which I would like to dwell deeper into. The first one is about, the learning aspect, and the second one is about the transition from a corporate job to entrepreneurship. We'll come back to that later. But first, about learning, something very interesting you mentioned, that, becoming a registered valuer or an insolvency professional is not just a matter of just going and doing some online MOOC or online learning course and acquiring some knowledge or information or getting an online certification. It is much more. And from what I understand of it, and as you also mentioned, it is almost as rigorous as completing a segment of your professional course like a chartered accountancy or cost accountancy or CFA, etc.
Correct.
And given the fact that we've kind of been out of the formal education,
Mm.
segment for these last 20 years, although as professionals we all have been acquiring knowledge because laws keep changing and regulations keep changing, practices keep changing. Digital transformation happens, technology comes in. So to that extent, of course, we all have been learning, upgrading, and acquiring new skill sets. But this is quite, a dramatic thing to go back to academia, curriculum, rigorous examinations. So, when it comes to facing those, were there like mindset issues that you had, okay, I have to get back into that student mode, or, were there challenges you faced because, one is not used to either writing examinations for 3 hours or, studying for something, for an examination, because we work very differently as professionals as compared to what academia requires us to do. So what were some of your
Yeah,
challenges or experiences during this journey?
yeah. Actually, see, though I kind of stopped. I cleared my CMA in 2004. Studying was not actually alien for me, because one is, I have read a lot of management books and I used to always read. Of course, not the legislations. I was not up to date in terms of. I was up to date to carry on my work, but not to appear for the exams, because
Correct.
in the work I was doing, I had to be update on the legislations and other aspects. So that studying was not something difficult, not a surprising element or something like that. And if you see, in 2015, I cleared a senior management program with IIM Kolkata. So that time also I had to study for almost a year.
Mhm.
But you are right in saying that the rigor of study which was required was much higher, actually, because it's like, I'm 47 now. At like studying at 22, 23 for hours together, and see, 47 is not an age actually, but it's obviously higher than 23. So let's
Correct.
look at it that way. So
Yeah.
if we look at it that way, so I think it is difficult, uh, because you have to go deep into the concepts, and then your mind has to be very much active to grasp that memory and all those things. But yeah, that's something, as you said. As I said, it is like clearing one group of a CA or a
Yeah.
CMA or a CS, or doing a CFA. But for people who are into profession, I must admit and be humble to say that I am very much behind, because all these CAs and all, I don't know what they do actually. People who are into profession, they have 7 to 8 qualification next to them. So
Right.
it's they
Yeah.
do, they at 60s also they keep on reading and carrying out new things. So I have a long way to go, because they also write books. and articles and journals, and I have also done little bit, but there's lot to do in that space actually.
Right. No, I think that is the essence of this journey because at no point in time, even if you have seven qualifications, you are not thinking that I have enough, and there is a thirst and hunger for more, which is why you do
Correct.
your eighth. So, beyond the point, whether it is age or whether it is the number of qualifications next to you, the numbers don't have the meaning. Actually, it is about the process
Exactly.
and the mindset,
Exactly.
which kind of eggs you on. So I hope this inspires a lot of people who are kind of thinking about it or are in two minds. And I think once you take the first step, then the next steps kind of follow on its own, and
Correct.
everything becomes easier. I would imagine that the most difficult thing is actually to take the first step.
Correct. Yeah, I think. I mean, I hear people saying like, now it's time I can't study and all those things. But
Yeah,
I think okay, it need not be the professional studies or anything, but I think anybody should not stop learning. Actually, the moment somebody
right,
stops learning, then that's it. They can't move forward in career or life. So
correct.
learning and unlearning is very much important part of anybody's life. So I mean, especially professional career is very important part of life actually. Otherwise, I mean, I personally believe that without any professional work or work life, I can't really live actually. So I think to live, you have to read or learn. That is important. So
Right.
as good as having my food every day.
Yeah, that's a kind of nice mental model to think of it. It's a part of you, and it's as essential as eating or breathing or drinking
Yeah,
water.
exactly.
Yeah, that's great, and I'm sure this will inspire a lot of people to do whatever they need to do in their respective fields, whether
Right.
it's a certification or just regular online learning. But now let me kind of change track to the second thing that you
Right.
mentioned, which I am very intrigued about, and given everything that we are hearing about the great realization and the great resignation and the gig economy, etc. The writing has been on the wall for quite some time, and people, it is touted that are going to move more and more from an employment or employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset or a freelancer mindset or a gig mindset, depending of course on the industry segment that they are dealing with. And this trend of course has been accelerated to a very large extent because of the pandemic. And as you also briefly alluded to it, at the time of corona, you essentially started thinking what you should be doing, and you wanted to go the entrepreneurial way. So if you could run us through what goes on in the minds of somebody making that transition, what is the biggest challenge that it comes to when you have to actually make that decision and leave the comfort of employment and of monthly paychecks, because
Mm.
everybody I have spoken
Yeah.
to, the biggest thing they say is the comfort of the monthly paycheck is kind of binds you to the job, and it becomes very difficult because when you're starting off on day one, you will probably not have that sort of comfort or cushion in probably 99% of the cases or so. So what was your thought process? What was your journey like? And what were the challenges? What worked well and what didn't?
Yeah, my way of thinking in this particular aspect is, and obviously I think this would apply to most of them. So either now or after 60, you need to do it. Okay, so you can't. Of course, after 60 also you can work. There are some employment opportunities, but not all of them will provide after 60, or you have to look for some job. So, how do you plan for your? I wouldn't call it as retirement. I would just say 60 because that's the age limit fixed by government or whoever it is actually.
Right.
So after 60, what will you do? How will you keep yourself occupied? To do that, I think if you try to do that at 60, then the amount of energy you would have may not be sufficient actually. And I think if somebody right now, if you see the startups and entrepreneurs, they are actually starting at 30, 32. That's fantastic actually. And if somebody can do it at 35 or 40 is good enough. I think you at some point, what I'm trying to say is that at some point you have to take this bold step. And one of the key challenge, Rajiv, I would say, is exactly the lifestyle actually, because whatever said and then, money and family and all those things, work, everything is there. But what you do in a day is your lifestyle. So when you are at work, you don't have to do time management much actually,
Hmm.
because if you don't do time management, what will happen is you will miss on the goals, or you will miss on your promotion, whatever it is, it's your etc etc. Your career will not be on track at work. But however, it is most important to do your time management and discipline when you are on your own, because there is
Hmm.
nobody to whom you have to report to.
Right.
You have to actually get up and set your day in terms of what I am going to do in next 8 hours, 9 hours. Because there's on after you leave job, there is not. It's not like you have work to start with. Okay, next day you get up and there is no work. You have to get the work to your table. So for that, first thing what you are going to do is I mean, whatever the career you are in, you are going to do networking, you are going to do marketing, you are going to study, you are going to execute few tasks, whatever you have. All these things are there actually. So
Right.
each and everything is part and parcel of your entrepreneurial journey. On in a day, I mean, if you are in a, if you I was in an operations and finance, so I was not doing much of marketing actually. So whatever marketing I can think of is strategy. I can say, okay, marketing strategy I can build, because I'm strategic thinker. But how to execute a marketing strategy is a challenge actually. That's the
Right.
challenge I'm facing right now actually.
Hmm.
But you give me any task, I'll execute it just like that actually, because that has I have been doing it actually. So
Yeah.
you want me to plan for something? You want me to build a marketing strategy? You want me to be a startup mentor? Being a mentor is easy, but the person who is executing the start
Right.
is not easy actually.
Yeah.
I mean, that's from my perspective. Not everybody can be a mentor unless you have the experience actually. So, I mean, I would say somebody has to be very much ready for this kind of challenges, to
Yeah.
have that patience and perseverance, to achieve something higher in life, and to plan for the future of their career actually, career and
Right.
life actually.
Yeah.
Obviously, the other thing is supporting element, very important. They should take care is the financial stability. So where they stand with their finances, what commitments they have. So obviously, that is the basic max they have to do. If they miss that, then that will be another additional problem which they'll be taking along with them. So that is the basic thing. After that, the other thing is to how you look after yourself and your entrepreneur journey.
Right. No, absolutely. And yeah, I kind of agree with you on your own self-assessment of the strategic thinker part, the way you've kind of laid down the chart of life, because, lifespans have increased and, these days people easily live up to 75, 80, etc. So it's no longer a question of, retiring and then living peacefully from 60 till end of life. It is also about doing something. And I like the way you put it. It's, essentially the inevitability of leaving employment, whether you do it in your 40s or, earlier in your 30s. But ultimately, at 60, you will have to give that up and you will have to start something. So
Correct.
might as well, think about it, have the foresight to kind of anticipate that inevitability of leaving employment and start thinking about it upfront. And as you do that, you have to ensure that all the cogs, fit in the wheel, and you're thinking of business development and marketing. And I'm sure it's a challenge, getting out of your comfort zone if you've not done marketing before, or whatever else component
Right.
you're missing out on, because corporate jobs typically, in the early to mid stage of your career, would require you to exercise only, two or three elements. But being an entrepreneur or being on your own would require you to necessarily, pull out everything in the arsenal, not just one or two. So yeah, that's But yes, I think it's not a question of if, it is just a question of when. I think that's the key takeaway, which I think our listeners
Yeah,
would
exactly. And
love to have.
somebody is actually having an entrepreneur's mindset, and somebody wants to start up. So that's a different aspect altogether,
Yeah,
because they are thinking of it early on itself. They
yeah,
join job just because they want to see how the corporate is, and then they start on their own. For them, they are very clear actually. I
yeah,
think this question, whatever you are asking, I'm answering from the perspective of people who are above 40, who want to
yeah.
just switch or something like that. Not that they
Correct,
have 100% entrepreneurship mindset.
correct.
If they had it, they would have had it at 30.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people do not start off in their 30s because of, the financial stability issues
Correct.
and the fear
Correct.
of, how to pay my EMIs, how to get my house, how to get my car, and, all of those things, which is very
Correct.
deeply rooted in the Indian society. But anyway, moving on from, this fascinating discussion about this transition
Yeah.
to, what you mentioned is your strength area. So I would definitely like to dwell upon that and have our listeners also benefit from your strength areas. And I believe, one of the cornerstones of what you've been doing in your corporate experience is around process transformation and particularly using the lean methodology. So if you could talk
Correct.
about, some of your experience around that area, what have you been doing? And, what process transformation, of course, everybody keeps talking about. But to get into the brass tacks of that, what does a typical day look like in the life of a process transformation specialist or, a digital transformation person? And what are the typical challenges, etc. So I think that will be very, very useful.
Sure, sure, Rajiv. Actually, in my role with ADP and Amazon, I had a lot of opportunity to do process transformation. So I worked with ADP for 9 years and Amazon around 2 years actually. And apart from that, I worked with other organizations like Infosys and Deutsche Bank. I think, yeah, even there I have utilized the process transformation skills. But however, here I actually led those projects and executed to successfully to have the financial gain and productivity gains and efficiencies. So basically, at ADP, I was a seeding member of this team who set up the UK payroll process in India. In 2006, I joined, and then we were seven of them who went to UK, and we started getting the UK payroll offshoring business to India. So that's when, in terms of overall journey, 2006 we started, and 2016 I left ADP. So by that time, 0 to 500K payslips per month we used to process in the UK payroll managed service center in Pune and Hyderabad. So I was responsible for Pune and Hyderabad managed service payroll, and 160 people under me. So during this operations and transition journey, it became very important for us to get the productivity gains and efficiencies. So that's when I actually took up a few process transformation projects, and I led those to the closure along with the team and the stakeholders. So basically, at ADP, we used to follow the lean philosophy. Not much of Six Sigma. Six Sigma actually has a lot of statistical tools and too much of analysis. So, and there are clear rules when you have to follow Six Sigma and when you have to follow Lean. For a simple transformation or simple when you want to look at it in a simplified manner, rather, I would say, I think Lean should be sufficient actually. Let me try to explain Lean in a minute or so at high level. So Lean is what we are talking about: eliminating waste. So if you take any process for that matter in the world, anything, there is going to be waste actually. So implementing lean philosophy and process transformation for almost 10-15 years, I mean, that is something ingrained in me, or anybody who has done process transformation, they will have that. Anything they look at it, they will see what is going waste here actually. So if you so the basic idea is that you do the process mapping, value stream mapping, which is the current state or as is process mapping. And then you identify when you are doing process mapping, it's not like you will do it at a high level actually. So that is not possible, that is not prescribed actually. In value stream mapping, you go at a very much granular level, wherein even if you are handing over a paper to somebody, or if you are actually clicking a button, generating an invoice, or whatever you are trying to do, you are in case of payroll, you are generating a report or payroll processing, you will have to document each and everything in the form of value stream mapping. So current state process is there, and then there is going to be a workshop of, depending on the size of project you are dealing with, maybe a day or 2 days or 3 days. And the main requirement of this workshop is that everybody have to be present, whoever is the stakeholder for this. The representation has to be there. It's not like, okay, few managers sit or few people sit and decide, okay, we are doing this, let's change this, let's how this doesn't work that way. So you sit for 3 days, you do the entire walls are mapped actually in terms of the post dates and all those things. And main important thing is the SMEs, the people who are on the ground, has to be there in the workshop. And the functional owners, internal departments like technology teams or operations teams, or the onshore teams who is at the marketing side or front end side, or the call centers, everybody, there has to be a representation. That's when you will actually come to know what is happening in the process. So that's how you do the process mapping, and then you come up with the future state map. After you eliminate the waste, non-value added activities. See, there are two things you do. I mean, three things rather. You eliminate waste. That means you actually removing that activity or a step from the process. The second thing is you can automate the process, and automate using either bringing a new technology. So you can use a simple macro to automate the process. So once you do this, you have future state map in front of you. You will have to actually draw a future state map in terms of VSM, and then the output will be the project action plan actually, in terms of what is the action, who are the owners, and in terms of what is the benefit you are getting, in terms of what is the productivity gain or FTEs, or are you going to implement a robotic process automation, are you going to bring in a business process management tool, or you are going to buy a new tool or something, whatever will be the output and the cost associated to that. After that, after you have completed all these things, then you are going to have a project plan which you are going to execute it. And this is only 20% of it, and 80% depends on the execution actually. So most of the projects fail because it's not executed, because there is a lot of passion and rigor. You are meeting, you are traveling, you are having lunch meeting, yeah, oh, I am in the workshop, take photograph, all those things are done. But after that, everybody gone, they are into operations, day to day things. So
Right.
that then comes the project leader's responsibility to follow up and execute the things. So that's where I think we have to ensure that the project team and project leader follow up, regular reporting, bring in senior management if it is required, to ensure that the actions are closed. Only then this, whatever we put it on our profile in terms of 20 FT, 30 FT save, that will be that you can put it there after you do this. I have brought in 15% productivity gain every year, and 30 FTE saving and robotic process automation. All these things have been implemented in my career.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
think there's a lot to it, and I mean, so I try to explain in 1 or 2 minutes, but it might have taken 7 minutes. So So that's how the process transformation goes actually.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. And, especially I love the part you mentioned about execution because, it's something probably people can relate it to social media. What we showcase or what we broadcast our lives to be is actually just the tip of the iceberg. But what is actually happening underneath it is something which is totally different. And, similarly, in these sort of projects, whether you're using Lean or Six Sigma or any other methodology, there is only so much that you will gain actually from showcasing projects on paper or developing theoretical models or process maps, etc. But the real value comes from being able to execute something and making changes on the ground, and that's 80% of the work, which probably people do not realize. They get drawn in by fancy terminologies and fancy frameworks, and of course Six Sigma has a lot of very deep rooted frameworks, and it requires a
Correct.
lot of rigor as compared to Lean. But people get so taken up by those that if they complete the analysis as per the rigor required of Six Sigma, they in their minds believe that they have done something magnificent. But at the end of the day, if it does not translate into benefits on the ground, then it's not worth the paper that these fancy things are written on. So, thanks, Nataraja, for the wonderful insight that you've given around Lean. I think there are two key elements that I would take away apart from the focus on execution. One is the keenness to observe and identify waste, and as you mentioned, when people across different functional silos come together, there is a lot of waste that gets discovered as a result of inefficient handoffs that have traditionally been there because organization have functional silos, etc. So that's one major part. The other major part which I think is happening more and more these days is because of the impact of digital, right? So on that front, what has been your experience, and particularly I guess since you worked in the service industry, whether it's Amazon or Deutsche Bank or ADP, how does it particularly impact service industries? Has the thinking around the process transformation methodologies like Lean or Six Sigma changed to that extent, or has the approach to process become more digital first and technology centric? If you could run us through some experiences around that, it will be very beneficial.
Yeah, actually, I mean, while I was with Deutsche Bank, we implemented Workday tool for HR and payroll systems, and when I was with the ADP, we implemented Savion BPM tool. So, if I talk about example of Savion BPM tool, so or any other tool actually, if from my perspective, when we say we are actually trying to automate or bringing in a technology or disruptive technology. So first step is to look at the process. To look at the process in terms of what is it at the current state and what it is going to be in the future state. So I would say the lean philosophy or the process transformation philosophy will not change because that is the basic actually. Because you are going to go to your drawing board first, design stage. So you can actually call it different things actually. So in technology there are UX UI designs actually, and I mean, there are various things which I am not also aware of actually. So, I would say even for those people to code or do some bring up with some technology, they would ask, "What is your process? Give it to me. Let me have a look at it." So I think the first step is to draw the process. That's where your lean thinking will come to your rescue in terms of how to really look at the process, and then the transformation or the technology utilization also. Sometimes, if you're just thinking, somebody will say, "Okay, I mean, general way of thinking is let us put this technology into place, or we'll buy this technology which costs crores of rupees and solve this problem." That is not the way to think about. First you have to see what exactly is the issue, what is the problem. It could be some small solution might be there for the big problem which you are thinking. So in that case, the level of technology automation you want to bring in has to be clear actually. So to clarify that, you have to do the process mapping. So that's where I think the basic tools, even including Six Sigma tools, I would say is complementary. But you are right in saying that we don't have to completely go into delve into it and just sit at Six Sigma lane. I think we need to come out of only thinking that and thinking of automation, disruption. Can we buy a off the shelf product? Can we outsource it? All these things has to be talked about, but the
Right.
basis remains same actually.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think, what method you use or what tool you use essentially is just one of the things that you have at your disposal. Ultimately, your business objective is paramount. And based on that, one has to see, if you have to start with the basics and eliminate waste, you have to do your entire, process mapping, value stream mapping, etc. And, to
Hmm.
that extent, technology can only be an enabler. Of course, with the digital
Correct.
revolution, we can visualize the end state in a very different manner as compared to what we could have done maybe 5, 10 years ago. So I would
Correct.
imagine that has been a very big change. And as we've been talking about your past experience, I also realized that this is very different from what you've now set out to do with becoming an insolvency professional, a registered valuer, etc. So looking at your journey is and I'm sure a lot of people are in that boat where they are into careers where probably they would, their heart is somewhere else, or they believe that, they are better fit for, some other job or some other industry segment, whatever it may be. But because they've been, at it for the last 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, there is that feeling that, this is what I'm good at, this is what the industry recognizes me for. So when making that sort of career switch or transition, not maybe as dramatic as moving from employment to entrepreneurship, but even if it is moving from one corporate career track to another, uh, what is your advice to such people who are contemplating such changes, either minor ones or slightly more dramatic ones?
Yeah, if you are looking at career switch within corporate also, like let's say you are into operations, you want to move into functional or project management role or technology, semi-technology role, data science, all those things actually. So if you are switching small or big, it's going to be a challenge for sure, unless you are doing it very slowly, and then let's say you are enrolling into a data science course, machine learning, and then uh, uh, you are actually I mean, I'm trying to say that is there anything which can be done smoothly, but it's hard actually, very very rare. So probably
Mhm.
you can switch to project management role smoothly, but okay, it depends on how much of turn you are taking actually. If you are taking the turn from operations to quality, or quality to project management, or an account management, or something like that, it may not be so difficult actually. Or you are
Mhm.
moving from payroll to APAR, something like that, it may not be so difficult. But if you want to move to data science, or if you want to move to UX UI, or you want to move to say different career, or as I have done the valuation and insolvency professional, it takes a lot of actually on you. So you need to so within the career, I mean, sorry, within the corporates, if you have a role within in your organization, or if you are ready to switch at a lower level, then that should be fine actually. So there
Mhm.
is an amount of sacrifice you have to do. Okay, if you are very clear that I want to move to data science, then let's say you are in a senior manager role or a director role, then you will have to work in another company at a manager role or assistant manager or consultant role, and then work for 3 4 years 5 years, and then you become a manager or senior manager in that machine learning or whichever area you are into. So it
Right.
will take, you are investing 4 to 5 years of your time actually.
Yeah.
So, depending on the kind of career you are choosing, that much time has to be invested. And if you are very clear about your switching, your passion towards that particular thing, then I think it's worth it. So that is something a person has to contemplate on, whether that person wants to really go for that much of sacrifice.
Hmm. No, that's I think very pragmatic, and I believe the drivers would become very important, because if you are either in a function or an industry, or employing a skill which is at the risk of obsolescence, then I don't think you have a choice. Then you have to invest those 3 years, or whatever is the time required to get to that alternate career path. But if not, if it is only a matter of, okay, I've got bored of this, now let me try something else, then it should at least be weighed in more seriously, because there is a lot of effort and investment in terms of time, and also in terms of career progression, that will go into switching to something that at that point in time seems more interesting to you. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's very practical advice, and yeah, one has to be ready for all the hard work and associated costs and investments that come along with it. So not
yeah.
everybody
Just for,
can.
yeah, yeah. Just to add in, now that we have a lot of revolutionary tech things happening, so there is a possibility of very smart switchover also, but that can be planned over a period of 2 years or 3 years, or
Right.
are there opportunities within the organization to slowly pick up one project, two project, and then move or something like that. And
Yeah.
I must say that some of the organization like Amazon, Google, or even few other organizations encourage people to move to different roles. So that needs to be utilized. So talk
Yeah.
to the respective managers and then see if the transition can be done smoothly.
Right.
So that also can be utilized wherever that possibility is there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the most pragmatic thing, and the least cost and least disruptive option. Because while the grass
Mm,
always looks greener on the other side, we shouldn't
mm,
ignore that we can take a stroll in our own garden somewhere.
mm.
So yeah, absolutely. So, thanks, Nataraja, for sharing your insights. I think it has been a fascinating conversation, and I'm sure the listeners will love it. We've covered, a lot of ground, and
Yeah.
we are also capturing this conversation, the essence of it, on our website. So the links to, the article and the post on our website are down below in the description, so you guys can check it out, and hope to see you next time with another wonderful conversation. Thanks once again, Natraj.
Thanks, Rajiv. It was pleasant talking to you.